What's up, guys? Simon Lazard here, and you're listening to Running It with Nate Sexton.
Hello, disc golf fans, and welcome back to another edition of Running It with Nate Sexton. I am your co-host, Jarett. He is a man who has now brought us post-production coverage, live coverage, and of course, America's #1 disc golf podcast, and still #3 in sports podcast in Malaysia, Mr. Nate Sexton. Nate, how you doing today, man?
Better now that I hear we're holding steady in Malaysia. That's great news.
Yeah, we haven't lost any ground there at all. So I'm excited about that as well. It was really awesome hearing you call some live disc golf for a change. How was that for you?
It was fun. It had been way too long since I'd seen my friend Nate Doss and Val Jenkins, and I'd never been to their brewery. So, aside from the golf being thrilling and Kona dominating and Nico and Kale having an epic battle down the stretch, just getting there and going to Bend, a city that I enjoy, and seeing those guys and seeing all the hard work that they've poured into their brewery, and it's all paying off for them. It was just kind of like a warm glow feeling, seeing 100 people outside enjoying their beer and eating at the food trucks at Bevel Brewing in Bend. And I just was like, man, I'm just proud of what they've accomplished, to follow their dreams and have it working out. It was fun to see.
And I saw that you finally got to get your signature on there with all those other famous signatures. I saw the picture up on social media. That had to be pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. And this is no surprise to anyone, I think. But Val told me they had just moved into the brewery. We can ask Val about this maybe more when she comes on the show. But she said they had just painted and done all this decoration for their space. And then who but Big Germ comes to visit the brewery, and he's like, where can I sign the wall? So that wasn't their idea. That came straight from the Big Kahuna. He was like, I'm here, I'm the Big Germ, and I need to sign something. And so that's how that started.
Halfway through it.
Yeah, she was like, whoa, we just did these walls. Like, nah. And then they were like, I guess we can do the door. And, now it's pretty cool. So hats off to Big Germ. It turned out cool. But it started out as like what? You want to sign the wall? We just got this place.
Yeah, no shock there at all. All right, guys, now before we get you to an exciting interview, you guys know we have to take care of a little bit of business. And, of course, I'm talking about our friends over at FisherDiscGolf.com. Guys, if you haven't visited FisherDiscGolf.com right now, I highly recommend you hop over to their website. Levi and Adam are adding all sorts of new plastic and apparel every single day, and I'm talking about some of that hard-to-get plastic as well. You guys can hop over to FisherDiscGolf.com, check out all the new stuff that they're loading on there. Of course, they're doing the disc stacks every Tuesday and Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's available on their Facebook page and in high definition on YouTube. If you guys haven't checked it out, this is really kind of a cool, fun way to check out some discs that maybe you wouldn't purchase on your own, but you go ahead and you pull one out. Like I said, I've gotten one from there, a disc that I would have never bought, and it's kind of become a staple in my bag. So check out FisherDiscGolf.com. They're doing a lot of big things. Of course, they're an official sponsor of Ledgestone, so they are getting those specialty Ledgestone discs in. Last I saw, they still had a few left. And of course, all sorts of neat Fisher apparel. Everything you need to get out there and play around. They've been an awesome supporter of this show, and they're really just a great supporter of the sport of disc golf all on its own. So we really appreciate them. And just for listening to this show, they're going to go ahead and hook you up. Nate, what do our listeners have to do to save a little bit of money?
Make sure to use our code RUNIT10 to save 10%. You always get free shipping, and the guys over at Fisher Disc Golf, those are our guys. They've been with the show since the very beginning. So show them some love. Get over there. Get your next disc from FisherDiscGolf.com.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I would be crazy if I didn't mention the awesome people over at Cab Coffee Roasters. You guys heard us talk about them a little bit last week. You've seen us share their information on Instagram. And this isn't just because they wanted to be a sponsor of the show. Hudson is doing amazing things. He's working hard to get amazing coffee out to you guys. Of course, we talked a little bit about it last week. CAB stands for Cooper and Brooke. These are two individuals that are on the autism spectrum disorder. And he wanted to create a company where he could get them to work and have them do something. And found as they got older, it was a little bit more difficult for them to find work. And he started this coffee company. He's got them working with him. They're doing amazing things over there. It's just really a great cause. And on top of it, it's great coffee. Nate, what are you drinking this week from Cab Coffee Roasters?
I just busted into my second bag, and spoiler alert, they're 2 for 2 so far. We got another winner. So I went with the Colombia El Tiple. I'm not sure on the pronunciation, but I can say it was great. It says right on the bag, roasted on March 1st, so you know it's fresh. And yeah, I had it this morning. Again, really smooth. I'm in, man. My Starbucks beans are collecting dust. I gotta say, I'm in on Cab.
Yeah, and guys, check out their social media pages. Hudson goes live, and he does a lot of really cool videos of him tasting the coffee himself. He's roasting it, and he knows exactly what he's doing. I mean, he's got this thing down to a science. The other night, he was tasting one, Nate, and he said, you know what? I roasted this one about a half a minute too long. I got to go with higher heat. I mean, this isn't just like, hey, here's some beans. This is somebody who's really putting his heart and soul into this coffee to make sure that it's high quality. And on top of it, he's doing amazing things, and he's got some big plans. And the only way we're going to be able to help them grow is to help out a small business. So visit cabcoffeeroasters.com. You can find them on Instagram. You can find them on Facebook. Cab Coffee Roasters. Go ahead and give them a follow. Keep track of what they're doing. He's going to be sharing some new blends. And Nate, our listeners can save a little bit of money at Cab Coffee Roasters as well, right?
Yeah, we keep it simple. It's run at 10 again for 10% off your first order. You're not going to be disappointed. This stuff is really good.
Yeah, check them out, guys. We're coming off an awesome show. You had Simon set up for us last week. We had a great chat with him. People really seem to enjoy that. A lot of people have been talking about it on social media and sharing it. So, guys, we thank you so much for that. And once again, you did not disappoint. Kind of going back to the roots a little bit. Who are we running it with today?
I'm excited. We've got a guy who is... among many other accomplishments, this one's not even really an accomplishment, just a memory. He's one of the guys that was kind of like my first point of contact with like Innova as a corporate entity. So like instrumental in me joining Team Innova way back in the day. But more importantly, he's the 1984 PDGA World Champion, and he's worked for Innova for 20 years now. It's Mr. Sam Ferrans.
Oh, guys, I think I figured out the mute button.
Perfect timing.
We're happy to have you.
Perfect
How
timing.
you guys doing? Good to be here.
Oh, we're doing great, and we're excited to talk to you and hear a little bit about disc golf in the early 80s, mid 80s, early 90s, those kind of times that are before I was out playing. And I was thrilled to get to talk to Dave Dunapace a couple of weeks ago and hear kind of some of the stuff he had to say. Obviously, your name came up as he was talking about coaching you in distance and just, I mean, we can get it out of the way right away. You're the youngest person ever to win a world championship. When you won, you were only 16. Am I right about that?
That's about right. I mean, back then, I think it was either late June or early July when they had the PDGA World Championships in Rochester, New York. And I'm a late August birthday. So that, I just didn't realize at the time what was going down. And they still remind me, you know. Jeez, how many years later? I can't do the math, but it's quite the number of years that they keep telling me that. Yep, you still have that record.
You can't really shake it, I guess. Once you come through with something like that, it kind of follows you around.
I do, and I appreciate it even more. Every year that goes by.
That's great. I want to go even earlier though with my first question, because what I like to do with our guests, especially somebody kind of old school. Go straight to the PDGA, go to the very first tournament you ever played that they have a history of. I'm sure you may have played before this. I don't know. But as far as the PDGA is concerned, your first action, the 1982 5th Annual La Mirada Open playing in junior boys, and you crushed them, a field of 5 players. And I see Mark Molnar and, may he rest in peace, Craig Leyva on that list. And I just wanted to know what you remember from squaring off against those guys as probably like a 13-year-old?
Those guys have been there since day one. They're one of the original players, and Craig and Mark and Mike, his brother, and I, always just fiercely battled. I think I may still have the trophy somewhere,
Cool.
but it's boy, oh boy, just to think back, 1983. I know that after that, we were all involved in the Whammo World Junior Championships, and we played the regional events there, and later went on the following year to go to SeaWorld to play in the World Junior Championships. Whammo had a big role in those days with the events, World Junior Championships, U.S. Opens. They were the biggie before Innova came along. They were the Olympics basically of our sport. But all in all, yeah, those were the days. Let me tell you, boy.
I wish I could have seen it. I mean, how did you come to find disc sports? Did your parents play, or what? How did you get to that place where you're playing tournaments at age 13 in a sport that has literally only just barely been formally invented, just 6 or 7 years before that?
It's a long story. I was lucky. I was kind of put in the right place at the right time. My dad, he moved us around. We moved, born in Washington, D.C., worked for Bechtel Corporation. So he moved us around. I was up in Toronto as a young kid, infant, and we later moved across the country to Oakland, and we were there for a couple years. And my dad got a job in Norwalk, California, and we later settled in La Mirada, and that was probably back in 1975. And during those times, I believe that's when Ed planted the first pole holes at Oak Grove Park, the first disc golf course.
Yeah,
and
I think that's 1975, correct?
Yeah, 1975. And, we were driving along. We were in the Pinto. My mom had a Pinto, and we were driving along Alicante Road, and there was a park, and I saw these guys with long hair throwing these big, huge plastic discs at these orange poles. And I was like, man, what's going on there? That looks pretty interesting. And I remember my parents bought me a Super Pro. So I had a Super Pro. That was my first disc, and I went out and played. Apparently, Ed had mapped out some of the holes before he actually put pole holes in at La Mirada with these orange poles. I still remember them. 9 holes, and I loved it. And, my parents are like, what are you doing? My mom's up there in the Pinto, keeping her eye out on me while I was playing. And I befriended a lot of great people up there. But Dad we all got transferred, believe it or not, to Taiwan for 2 years. So 75, 76, 77, we were in Taiwan. I lost my Super Pros. The first 3 months I was there, didn't have any discs. And later when we came back to La Mirada, those orange poles, they basically changed into the first pole holes. The second disc golf course that ever was installed, La Mirada Park, had pole holes, and I was pretty much hooked after that. 77, 78 is when I started playing as much as I could.
So did you go to that high school right across the street, or was that there back then, or?
Yeah, believe it or not, it was. That was La Mirada High School right across the street. That was my high school. I was in elementary school at the time, but
sure.
Later to middle school, and I met this guy up there. He had a horse trailer. His name was Dan Mangoni, and he's now he's the guy who runs Discovering the World, and he was my first coach, and he kind of showed me the ropes, got me the different discs. We were going from Super Pro to 100 mold to 40 mold to backhand to sidearm to thumber. And I remember a funny story that I was probably 12 years old at the time. I knew Mark and Mike Molnar and Craig Laba at the time, and he was teaching us grips, and he was teaching me this thumber grip, and it scraped my arm up. So, my mom was already nervous about me being up, and Dad were already nervous for me being up there at the park with these seedy looking people. And they when I came home, I had this bruise on my arm, and Mom went straight up to Dan and said, what's going on with my boy? And Mangoni says, Angela, I'm just teaching him how to throw the thumber. So after that, Mom and Dad became pretty good friends, and he was pretty instrumental in my early years as a disc golfer.
I thought you were going to say he said to your mom, "Well, your son's got a terrible thumber."
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think I threw it much after that either.
He hit himself in the arm with a thumber. That's not easy to do.
Have you tried a thumber, Nate?
Sure, I've tried it, but probably not with the same discs you were using.
Yeah, they were big and heavy.
And I'm sure that made perfect sense to your mom too. Like, oh, okay, it's just a thumber. Got it.
Yeah, it was just a thumber. Got it, Dan. I'm going to keep my eye on you. Yeah, right.
All right, well, then skipping ahead, I mean, just 2 years from that day, or roughly from that tournament, you're going to the World Championships in New York. I mean, who are you traveling with at 16 years old? And was that your first big trip, or had you done quite a bit of travel already for the purpose of playing disc golf?
Oh, no. I mean, I was pretty much La Mirada bound. I mean, 14, 15, can't really get anywhere. You could get on the bus, and,
yeah.
But I mean, even that, it was pretty much La Mirada. And Dan says, "Hey, we got this event coming up." I played, I played in the World Junior Championships the year before, and we did go to SeaWorld in Florida to play that. I lost by 0.4 of a point in the overall to a guy in Canada by the name of Jean-Luc Faure. And it's just I didn't have freestyle, and I didn't have accuracy. I think it was freestyle and accuracy that I didn't do well in, but everything else I did well in. And 0.4 of a point, so it didn't sit well. And I came back and started practicing, and later in '84 played in the U.S. Open against the men, and just barely missed that one. I was second place in the U.S. Open, which was essentially the Olympics of our sport back then. It had the 7 events. It had distance, golf, accuracy, discathon, MTA, SCF, and the dreaded freestyle. So I did well in golf there, and Dan was saying, "Man, you got to go play in this event in Rochester. I got to get you signed up for this PDGA." And about 2 weeks before the event, it was snail mail back then. It wasn't instantaneous lightning speed internet. He sent in, he would send in the application to become a member. And he said, "I'll tell you what, I'll sponsor you out there. If you happen to win, all I want is Jim Palmieri's collection," because that's what they were offering for the winner. They were offering a cash prize, the title, and Jim Palmieri's coveted disc collection. And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." I didn't have any real aspirations other than going out and playing. And Dan, got permission from Mom and Dad, and I was on the plane out there, and Royce Rosanowski picked me up. He was my chaperone, and that was something. He's still a great friend today, and it was something else. I mean, I just kind of remember getting in there, and it's it's a little foggy, but for the most part, remember the course pretty well. Remember the fierce competitors. Remember David Greenwell. Remember Michael Sullivan. They were all like super, like they wanted to beat me pretty bad,
I bet.
Yeah, it was pretty frightening. But I think I had 4 discs at the time. I had an arrow. I had 2 AVRs. I had 1 AVR. I had a backup, and I can't remember if it was another arrow or not. But that's kind of what I had. I had like 4 discs and a towel, and that's what we did back then.
Wow. Before I address a lot of what you just said, I just want to clarify to the listeners, when Sam talks about an overall, that's like a competition that includes a bunch of disciplines. And when he says SCF, that's self-caught flight. So you're talking about throwing the disc up and then like running as far as you can and catching it again, and they're going to measure that distance if you catch it with one hand. And then MTA is about throwing it up there and timing how long you can get the disc in the air before you come back and catch it again one-handed. So just to kind of give you guys an idea of what he's talking about, when he's losing by 0.4 of a point, that's across all these different disciplines of disc throwing. But moving on, yeah. So was 4 discs like kind of the norm, or were you like an outlier?
No, I mean, there was guys out there that probably had more. Those are my go-tos. It might have been a Stingray. I mean, I'm probably wrong. You guys could look back as to, when discs existed in 1984, but definitely an Arrow, definitely 2 AVRs and 1 other disc. And, it was pretty pure. You just kind of knew what each disc was going to do. You stepped up to the tee, and even to this day, I mean, it's like, I'm just most comfortable with the rock, with an AVR, fits nicely in the hand, and you kind of know where they're going to go. They have the gentle glide and accuracy, and got to the point where they were, it was like the last round, and Sullivan, he was creeping up on me, and David Greenwell, obviously, is a very fierce competitor, great friends, both of those guys to this day, were sneaking up on me, and I think they were maybe two strokes away, and I got to this big hole on the hill. It's kind of reminiscent of the Santa Cruz top of the world hole.
Okay.
Where it was probably 400 plus feet down the hill, and that was a turning point for me, and obviously one of the big memories where I took the Arrow and I just kind of cranked it out there with extra hyzer, and it just kept going forever on that line. I mean, Nate, when you hit it and you could see it and you can enjoy it, it was something that just kind of went straight down the hill and landed a couple inches from the pole. And the people that were there, obviously that was a big turning point, and I was able to go on and hold on and win it by 5.
Wow. So did Dave and Sullivan, did they kind of knew what they were getting into with this kid from California? Like, because you kind of were a known quantity, or was it like, who's this guy and he's beating us? Like, what's happening?
They knew. I mean, they knew of California young kid. I can't remember if I met Dave before that. I know that Michael Sullivan knew Gene Luke Foray. And maybe those stories got back to him. But, for the most part, they did know. And that was part of the challenge where, I felt as though I may have been an underdog, and I didn't like the feeling of losing by 0.4 of a point or losing the U.S. Open by a few strokes just a couple months before. So that was a big thing for me. And I felt as though I didn't have anything to lose. Everybody was super nice for the most part. I mean, competition can go the other way, and as you know, but everybody was Royce Rosanowski just kind of opened his home, and they made me feel at home, and boy, oh boy, I mean, at the end, I ended up winning. I got the title. I didn't really realize what the title meant at that particular time. What it would mean to me throughout all of these years. I got a $500 check, which was like way better than paper route money that I was earning at the time,
Yeah.
And then they presented me with this like vast Jim Palmieri collection. And then I knew how wise Dan Mangoni was, because he definitely scored on that one,
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. I was curious, in looking at the PDGA results, it shows you as getting $1,000, which I guess apparently was $500 plus the collection. But it shows second place getting nothing. Is that really how it was, or is that just kind of the numbers are lost to time because it was just recorded on some paper?
I can't speak to that. I mean, I would suspect that there was money for second. Back then, there wasn't any age-protected divisions. There was juniors, there was men's, and there was open, and that was it. So you're playing in those 3. And I suspect there was some money that as you said, that was lost to time.
Sure. And And then, like, when you got back to go to high school some more, were your classmates, like, aware of the fact that you had, like, won the world championship in something? Or was it, like, kind of an afterthought? Or I don't know, just some of those. How do you remember that?
It's interesting because we played Frisbee golf before Dave invented, the modern age disc. And that was a struggle. I mean, we were the first generation of people going, this is the coolest sport ever. It's going to be the best sport in the future. Trust us on this. But we were only one generation of people, and a group of people, very small group of people. And we took ridicule. At least I did as a young kid. It's like, oh yeah, you dance with the disc. It involves it's disco, or do you have a dog? So we went through all of that. At least I did. Until Dave made it a lot easier with the when he came out with the Eagle, because then it became a dynamic sport, and it was much easier to really let people know that disc golf is the sport of the future, and it is the greatest sport that we could ever play. And back then we knew it, and now we know it. It just took 40 years for all of you to catch up and realize it as well. So I'm proud of that. And when I came back, people did know, and they were like, "Wow, you're playing Frisbee golf." And I'm saying, "Well, it's not Frisbee golf anymore. It's disc golf." And as a result, we got more people from the high school over to play, and Oak Grove first disc golf course, La Mirada second, Huntington Beach third, and then the blips on the radar started occurring, and players from all around the United States would congregate, and we would tell our stories and bring them back, and the clubs would grow. And it was really, really gratifying to see, the family grow from that very small group of people into today. It's that to me is just, that's the wonder, and that's the amazement of being involved from the early years on.
Yeah, I think you absolutely should be proud in the role that you played in helping to get the sport out, just by doing the amazing things you could do at that time. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I can hardly imagine. It's so cool to think of the growth that you've seen in your lifetime. Not that you're even that old yet. You still have plenty of holes of disc golf ahead of you. But
well, thanks for that, Nate. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. And I guess the next thing that popped out at me was the very next year, 1985 Whiff Diff World Championship in Helsingborg, Sweden. And you went all the way there, age 17, most likely, and took that one down. Won $4,000 according to the PDGA, which adjusted to today's money is $10,000 at age 17. What do you remember about that? Was that, I mean, you'd already lived internationally, I suppose, so you knew what it was like to fly over the ocean and all that, but to go all the way to Sweden and come away with that, did that feel like a bigger deal than the PDGA Worlds, or what was that like?
It's at the time, I'll be honest, it did. The U.S. Opens, I mean, that kind of really, for us and our family, we would have Team Sweden come, we would have Team Japan come. This is in 1985. The overall events, and these teams would come to my house. My mom would host them because at that point now she started to love disc golf, and everybody that would come, and they would come to the house. They would have dinner. I'd have great partnerships and friendships with them, and I kind of knew that I wanted to get over the pond to play. There was a player who I knew since the early 80s. His name was Toby Svensson. He's a very famous disc golfer, early disc golfer. He's still out there playing. My Swedish friends know him, and he was a great guy. I wanted to get over there and play, and they were saying, "Whiff Diff, come on over." And Dan Stork-Roddick, who was pretty much the head of these U.S. Opens, was kind of the head, and he made a U.S. team. And I can't, I know that there was quite a bit of people that went over. There was Michael Sullivan, there was Snapper Pearson, there was Harold Duvall, one of my, early mentors and competitor. I used to compete against Harold. Dave as well in those days. He was my coach, Scott Zimmerman. But the Harold was part of that team, and we all went over. Bill Burns, we all went over to Sweden, and it was pretty amazing. I mean, we were playing. I'm pretty sure you may have played that course before in Helsingborg, but we were playing around 400 or 500-year-old castles. So I had never imagined that disc golf could be, that amazing. I mean, and to look at the buildings and realize that they were older than the country that we came from was pretty spectacular. Out there playing, thousands of people watching. I mean, it craziness. And after it was all said and done, they gave me this big, huge check, and I was holding it, going, "Wow, I can't. This is awesome." I love disc golf, and I was looking at it, and it was like 4,000 or whatever it was in kroner, and yet we ended up, I took the check, and we got on the train, and people that were just spectators, apparently they had broadcasted this on like national television. They all recognized us. It was kind of like the first real, whoa, this is, I mean, people are now discovering what disc golf is, and this is pretty darn cool. And what just happened? So when we got back, here's an interesting story. When we got back to America, we were waiting for the prize money to be sent over, and the prize money never came. So we're looking at Stork, who's pretty much our guy. He's team captain, and he was like, "We're working on it. We're trying to figure out what happened." And turns out that the person running the event had somehow mysteriously disappeared with the prize money, and ended up taking his family on a vacation that involved like hot air balloons. I'm not kidding about this.
Whoa! And
yes, dude. So we were like, "Whoa!" And I kind of like was shaking my head. I was, going, "Well, what does that mean?" It's like, yeah, it would be nice. So 6 months later, and the Swedish Disc Federation, they were awesome. I guess they worked with the Swedish government, and everybody eventually got their transfer after the 6 month period. But that was something I'll never forget. I had a big, huge check, Nate. It was all like styrofoam, and there was no way to cash that thing.
When you finally got the money, what'd you do with it? I mean, that's a lot of money, for a 17-year-old.
It was. For the life of me, how it goes.
You probably saved it if you can't remember.
I probably bought a Camaro or something. I don't know that, but it was something that I'll never forget, and it did give me like an idea. Like, hey, I like I was in Taiwan. I remember that as an early kid, early age, and I like the idea of traveling. I like the fact that we can go and people are speaking a different language, but we're throwing the disc, and it's just a common understanding of the passion that we all share together. And that to me was the takeaway from playing in a foreign country, and appreciating all the smiles that people had, or the congratulations, or it was just, to me, it was something that I wanted to work towards, study and get abroad, and promote disc golf in every corner that I could.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely agree with you in that, one of the things about my journey through disc golf in my career that I'm the most thankful and grateful about is just the vehicle that disc golf has been for me to see other places in the world, and to be able to visit Sweden and Finland and Estonia and Czech Republic and Japan and all these places to go and compete. That at Prince Edward Island, even, a place that, why would I ever go there otherwise, and just to be able to have had those experiences thanks to disc golf is something I am always really thankful for. But I wonder, along with all that, I know that you had been coached by Dave, and I know that kind of like distance was one of your calling cards, right? So, and did you at some point have a distance world record?
I did, yeah. And this is all part of that U.S. Open. stage. You know, I mean, that was to us, 83 was my first U.S. Open, and I think I played all the way to 890. And every year was like Christmas in June, just waiting for, the caravan to roll up. And Whammo ran that one along with Dan Mangoni, Stork, Danny McGinnis, his group of sports promotion. They had a sports promotion department at Whammo, which I thought was like really cool. But Dave was like following me, and I was going, wow, that's Dave Dunapace. He gave me some golf tips, after Helsingborg. We started playing a little bit together, and then I believe the Swedes had the world record at that time, and he pulled me aside and said we need to get the record. And they were, Dave would take me out, and he'd show me these techniques, and it'd take me a while to kind of really understand, and I'd have to go off by myself because, I'm pretty stubborn when it comes to taking things in. And, just started to, Dave had this disc called the Phoenix, and he goes, this is the perfect sail for you. And, this is what you need to do. You need to get it up at this angle, and it's going to take a lot of torque to get it up, the nose down. But once you do, and you're going to be able, we're going to get the record. And it just, one of the practice sessions, I finally got it. It was like, finally got the angle, and I was able to produce it a few times. And I knew I was ready at that point. And I ran back to Dave and said, I got it. And he's like, let me see. And we went out at La Mirada, man, right at the softball fields, and was just throwing these Phoenixes out there. It's 580, 590. And I knew I could, the goal was to go over the 600-foot mark in competition. And that was at the 1987 U.S. Open, and that was in the distance competition. And we had, I think we had Craig Leva, who was a monster, as you know, always a monster, could throw he would throw so hard, he would say that the hot stamp would come off of the disc and go back on the disc. That's how hard Craig Leva would throw that disc. And we had Hiro Oshima, who was the national hero, the national champion of Japan. I believe Frank Aguilera, who was also a world record holder from Southern California. Great players from Sweden by the name of Thomas Palmer, who was also, I don't know if he was there at that time, but he came after the fact.
All right, we had a little battery issue with Sam's headphones, so we're coming right back in, and that's why he sounds a little bit clearer, actually. He got an audio upgrade from his daughter's headphones, so this is even better, treat for the show. But I think we were kind of just discussing leading into that tournament. You're getting the Phoenixes up near 600. Now we're kind of there, competition day, going for the record.
It was basically the semi-final round, and we were at La Habra, right across the street. That was the biggest area that we could get they could get at the time for the event. And I threw one out there, 177 meters in the semifinals. I think 184 was the record at the time. So I knew I was getting closer, and the main thing was to make the finals, because you go from 80 to 100 people to the top 16 to the top 4 for the finals. And I just wanted to make it the top 4, so I had another chance to go for it, and made it in the top position. And I can't remember who was there with me. I seen it was Hiroshi Oshima from Japan. I think Craig Leva made it in the number 4 position, and it may have been either Andy Lehman or Frank Aguilera that was also there. It may have been Frank. Everybody gathered for the finals. It was cool. It's what we did. It's what we basically lived for all year round. And first 2 that I threw out there, I remember I was either turning them over too much, wasn't getting them high enough. They weren't going to even get me, to a place where, it's 3rd place in the standings. I knew that I needed to rip one out there. And it was the fourth throw, and wind was about 7 miles an hour, and it just got it up high. And I can't remember, it was either Russell Schwartz from Innova East or Danny McGinnis, who had said that they were tracking the disc to market, and they knew that it was well over the furthest throw, and they were watching, and they could almost see it not run out of speed, but they could see the weight written on the bottom spinning. So they knew it was almost out of
got everything you could possibly get. I mean, if it's running out of spin, that's incredible.
As much as I could, and it rested down, and I knew it was good. And we were sitting down, and Dave's like, pointing at me, and we didn't know what it was, and they had their little laser measuring device back then, and Dan Stork-Roddick said 190.07 meters,
Wow.
New world record. I was blown away, went to Dave, gave him the big high five. Bunch of other people there, Pryor Hendricks, who's no longer with us, and I just remember their faces, and super proud, man. I mean, World Championship in disc golf, that was something I never really thought that it could get any better, and having that Guinness record, I held it for nearly 5 years until it was, I believe, Snapper Pearson's protege, Peter Albers, set it with a Viper 5 years later, down in the San Diego area.
Wow. That's incredible. And I think I speak for all of my peers in the modern professional disc golf scene. We do not understand how you guys could throw those discs that far. It doesn't make any sense. I can't even throw a destroyer that far. I know I'm not the distance king, but I don't know if Double G could throw it just doesn't even compute how you guys were able to do that. What's wrong with us? How come we can't throw our destroyers 1,000 feet?
Well, you could. What I think happened was we started with these trash can lids. For the most part, we were playing with. I mean, they were great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not downgrading the Whammo disc at all. That's where we started. We started with Frisbee, but
we'd be nowhere without them.
We would be nowhere without them. And essentially, we went from Super Pros lightweight plastic to heavy midnight flyer plastic, and that I think trained our bodies to throw these discs. And when Dave, earliest, probably the most impactful memory that I have was probably in '83 or '84. Dave came out to La Mirada. He goes, "I want you to try something," and he had the first prototype Eagle that he was experimenting with. This was like the first beveled edge disc, and I remember I'm like, whoa! And they were these translucent orange, probably 155 grams, and we stood back and forth at La Mirada just effortlessly, throwing these discs back and forth, and I realized that it was this definite game changer at that point, and so much fun. I mean, it turned the game into a dynamic sport, and that to me, I knew, wow, these things are going to go really far. And I was 20 years old. I mean, I trained every day. I mean, pretty much. I remember Craig Lave and I, after they kicked us out of La Mirada and the lights went out, we would go to right up the street to off a beach in Imperial, and there's a place called Gondola's Pizza, and we get a slice there, and we would throw back and forth in the parking lot from like 9:30 to 10:30 with the lights on in the parking lot until our parents came to pick us up. I mean, there was no stopping, there was no ending. So we played constantly, and it just felt. I mean, I don't think I could ever throw any further. I think I pushed it to the limit. It was just the times, man. I mean, we kind of learned, and we grew with our equipment.
It's just still incredible, though. I mean, I don't know. It's by all accounts, closer to a putter than a driver, the stuff you guys were throwing. And for those of you that have seen some Central Coast videos, I got to shout out Sam Ferrans as well for when we did the Battle of the Eras video a couple years back with Macbeth and Simon and myself and Kyle Sawtell, and I played the role of the 80s guy. It was Sam who furnished me that old school bag, the hat, and I think a couple Phoenixes. I think I had Phoenixes. I don't know. I had only discs from that era. So yeah, go watch that video if you haven't, for one, and watch me not throw nearly 600 feet with these discs. Like I'm talking 350 tops. But yeah, it was Sam who hooked me up with that stuff so that I could look the part and do right by the spirit of that event where we were messing around just playing with discs from certain decades. So it's amazing. I mean, I just don't even understand it. I still don't. Your answer did not satisfy me. I don't understand why we can't throw the destroyers even farther, because it's just so incredible that you could get over 600 feet with those things. But moving on, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your connection with Japan, because I know your wife is Japanese. I know you've played a ton of Japan Opens. I know you've been involved with Hero Disc. I just wanted to explore that a little bit, how you have such a deep connection with Japan.
All came down to those U.S. Opens, man. Again, and Team Japan would come every year. They would come to the house. Sometimes they would stay at the house. Mom would cook beef stroganoff. It was part of what we did every year. And they said, "What are you going to do after school?" And I said, "Well, I'd like to travel." And they said, "Well, if you go to university, and once you graduate, you come to Japan, work for us." So that's what I did. I stayed local. I went to Cal State Fullerton. I graduated with an international business degree, and I had a little emphasis in Japanese. And hopped on the plane and went to Japan the early 90s. Was there. I mean, it's just a dream job, for the most part. Promoting disc golf. We worked for Hero Inc., which was an outdoor promotional company that specialized in just having fun outdoors. And the Japanese work very hard. Usually it's 6 days a week, and they have one day, usually Sunday, to have recreation and to relax. So the big business for our company was the barbecue garden, where people would come out and rent barbecues and hammocks and buy the drinks and the steak sets and cook in an outdoor environment. So this became extremely popular. I was helping with that business, and then disc golf was on the side. So there would be a disc golf course, for example, at Showa Kirenkoen in Tachikawa. They would have the barbecue garden, and then 18 holes at Showa Park. People would do that religiously every Sunday. So our goal was to start planting these barbecue gardens and developing disc golf courses, all around Japan, from Kyushu, which is the southern part of Japan, all the way up to Hokkaido, which is northern island. And I was involved with the Sasagawa Sports Foundation, which is a government supported federation that embraces sports for all, outdoor recreation. Disc golf was a big part of what we did, and we were essentially, Kozo Shimbo-san and I were on tour 3 or 4 months a year, going all around Japan to these small cities, promoting disc golf as a result. It was wonderful, man. Wow.
And you did that for how many years?
I was there for 7, almost 8 years. Again, met my wife there, 4 or 5 years in. And again, going back to where it all started, if my dad got like a job, yeah, if his job in Oakland, if somehow his job took him to San Antonio or some other place, I mean, this would have never happened. I constantly think about, how close that could have been if we weren't placed at the right place at the right time. Being in La Mirada in 1975 would not have had all these adventures. Met Dave Dunapace, met all the teams from around the world, gone to Japan, meet my wife, my kids. It's truly something that I'm completely thankful for.
And I think disc golf, maybe as a sport as a whole, I think we maybe owe a great debt to your dad for nailing that job interview.
I guess so. Maybe it was Southern California or, wherever it was, Saudi Arabia. But I'm glad he chose Southern California.
Yeah, me too. That's amazing. So then was your next move was back to Southern California to begin your career with Innova after the stint in Japan? Bring your family, your growing family, I guess, almost by that point. Because you do have quite a few kids, don't you?
Right. We didn't start quite. My Kumiko came back with me in 1999. Dave had, when we got back, Dave had mentioned, "Hey, we need you." We'd already kind of talked about it because I was an affiliate of Innova when I was working for Hero. We brought a lot of disc catchers into Tokyo as a result, and a big part of the business was disc golf. So. He was kind, and he said, "You need to." I was living in La Mirada, with my parents, and for about 6 months, transitioning with my wife. Still didn't have any kids, and Dave says, "If you don't get up to Rancho, where the factory is, you're not going to be able to afford it because things are going through the roof." And I ended up finding a place up near the factory, and really, working right with Tim, Tim Selinsky. That event is coming up soon. I just saw some custom discs with his name on it, and he's one of the founders of Innova and one of my mentors, and it was an honor to work by his side for all those years. But truly lucky, man. Truly lucky.
And Tim Selinsky, as you mentioned, a founder of Innova and a guy that I was lucky enough to meet, and now the U.S. Masters Championship named in his honor. Unfortunately, gone too soon, but another huge figure in the sport of disc golf. Just for anybody who doesn't know that. But yeah, man, this was fantastic. I really, really want to thank you for the opportunity to hear these stories and for you to share with us. And I'm sure Jarett will fill us in. I'm sure that we have some interesting fan questions for you if you have time to answer a few. Sure.
Yeah. I got the new microphone on. My daughter's looking at me like she still has chemistry homework, but let's do this.
Well, we won't keep you too long, but we did get a couple of fun questions that I'd like to hear your take on. First, not necessarily a question as much as it was a comment, but on Instagram, Gary B. Myers says he has great memories meeting and competing against you in the 83 Junior Worlds, and that you're a great player and an even better human.
Gary is such an awesome dude. You know what? There's so many people that I wanted to remember and thank, and Gary's one of them. He's just a great dude, always has been. I remember him, 1983. He was right there with Leva and the Molnar brothers, and just heartfelt thanks to Gary. And I know he went through some a challenging accident most recently. Just good thoughts in your direction. I see that you're recovering, and love you, buddy.
Awesome. Yeah, that was it was cool to have somebody comment that actually got a chance to play with you. Scott sends into the email, and this is something that we've spoken about previously on this show, and I'm just kind of interested in your take on it. Scott says, it seems that a lot of times people try to downgrade a Ken Climo's 12-time world championship because the competition level was not as high. Now, just listening to your podcast today, or with this podcast with you today, you mentioned some amazing players and some people that broke ground in the sport. So what his question was, in your opinion, what's more impressive, Ken's 12 world championships or someone like a Paul Macbeth's 5 world championships with today's competition?
Wow, asking the tough questions.
That's tough. I mean, boy, I would say that from the very beginning, I mean, we talk about generations. Disc golf now has 3, maybe even 4 generations from the Big Bang, from when it all started. And I'll tell you from being on that outskirt of the first generation, we still have the same passion. We still have the same drive. We still have the same competitive zeal. We still felt bad when we were defeated. We still feel the same. And that second generation, maybe Ken Climo came on the scene, and he was playing in the 80s, I know that, but truly came on the scene in the 90s and in Arizona, and he was a beast. So I'm not sure I can, he was the beast in the 90s. I know Paul came about, maybe a generation later, and he was a beast. So it's hard to compare. I know that you were out there. I know you still need you make your drives. You still need to make your putts. We may be competing, for less prize money, but there's still the same feeling that there's still that competitive energy that's out there that never goes away. So I'm looking forward to seeing the next world beater out there. Who's next? We see so many juniors and so many young players now out there that are just awesome. Throwing 600 feet without even blinking. So that's where the future lies. I think every generation has their champion, and it's difficult to compare. It wouldn't be fair.
I like that answer.
Me too.
I think that's a great answer, and I think that kind of carries true in lots of sports. You don't have to give a GOAT, but everybody kind of takes their generation. So I like that. Jarett from Buffalo wants to know, since you've kind of been around since the inception of disc golf, and you've continued through, forget about what is Sam's Mount Rushmore of disc golf?
This guy,
there's no wrong answer here.
Just so you know, Sam, this Jarett from Buffalo guy he's getting preferential treatment. He's getting a question in almost every show.
He comes up with good questions.
Yeah, he does. The questions are usually good. But yeah, looking for kind of a top 4 influential or skill. It can be a combination of any of those things. Just some monumental names in the history of the sport.
And it can be to you. It doesn't have to be to anyone else. So this isn't, but this is to you. Who would be on your Mount Rushmore?
I go with the standard answers. I mean, you look at who, the pole hole creation, taking us from, basically establishing Frisbee golf and bringing us closer to making a game into a dynamic sport. We have to, I'd probably get booed if I didn't say Ed Hedrick as one of those people. Of course, my mentor and my boss and my coach. I've seen him since as from when I can remember throwing the first prototype. Dave Dunapace should be etched strongly in that granite. Another mentor, U.S. Open. Always almost like the Abe Lincoln of our sport. The way he just delivers words and is part of our Frisbee family. Dan Stork-Roddick would be another candidate or another person on that list. And it's tough to come up with number 4. Let me just say that there's someone out there. Maybe they're still etching away. I can't come up with number 4 off the top of my head, and I don't want to make a light of the question because it's very important. But I would use those 3 for now and reserve comment for a later date.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. And one of our next 2 weeks, our next 2 guests after you are Juliana Korver and Dan Stork-Roddick. So if you have it at the top of your head, give me some kind of question that's really going to surprise Dan that I can even ask this question. Something that's really going to take him back. Yeah, is there anything that pops into your mind that I could kind of ask him and he'll go, "What? How did you know that?"
Man, that's a good question.
You can tell me later. You can tell me later.
You can ask him that if he had anything to do with the balloon rides in Helsingborg, Sweden.
Was he kind of a corrupt? Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, he funneled that money. He got those people up in the balloons.
He'll certainly substantiate the
I'll ask him about
the
that.
story there.
That's a good one. I'll be like, hey man, do you know anything about the hot air balloons outside Helsingborg? And see what he says to that.
But yeah, he's you're very, very fortunate to have him, and again, just quite the storyteller. Super articulate, and in a way that he is one of the guys that can tell the story. And for the most part, I just remember him. You should ask him about his fondest memory of the U.S. Opens that he put on. You should ask him about Jim Palmieri stories. That's another character in our sport. He's got a million of them.
Okay, I might ask you to email me with some of these because I don't want to forget any of this. I got to get everything I can get out of Dan. I want to get because I'm really excited for that episode.
I'll do it.
Cool. We got anything else for him, Jarett?
Yep, we've got another one, another fun one here. Andy sends into the email, how often are you playing disc golf now, and what's in Sam's bag?
Well, I try to get out there on Saturdays. I try to get out there. Sometimes I can play with Dave. Sometimes I'm not able to get up, as early as that gentleman gets up before dawn. But I get out there as I've been actually at Whittier Narrows, which is probably one of the top 10 courses. I don't know if you had a chance to play that course, guys, but
I haven't yet.
That's
but I
one
want
to play. Oh, you have to. It's fantastic. It still have some of the old Mach 2s there, believe it or not. And 27 holes, could be 36, and that's a great place to train. But try to get out on Saturdays, try to do 4 or 5 hours, and then I got family obligations with my family and my mother, who's still here up in Apple Valley. So we reserve Sundays for family. But yeah, I'm still out there, and I'm throwing a Firefly. Nate. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes, I am. I'm throwing one of those. Love those. Got a P2 that I like for longer putts. I have a Coyote as well. I know that's kind of a weird one, but it's nice and straight for me. I like an Ontario Rock, which is a big old disc. It's a nice turnover floater. A Leopard 3. I like a Halo Leopard 3. I'm a Shrike fan, and I also like the Mamba for rolling at times.
Nice.
Oh, this just came in. A follow-up from Jarett from Buffalo wants to know, does anybody ever beat Dave down a pace out there?
I think I may have said that I've been fired multiple times from Dave. The same day, and rehired back the same day. No one beats Dave. No one beats Dave.
Smart. Very smart. Well, Sam, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing some of these stories. For myself, to be able to hear a little bit more about the history and how you guys really kind of paved the way for us to be able to get the sport to where it is now is truly an honor. And I'm happy to be able to bring it to the listeners and hear these stories and just know all the awesome things that you've done in the sport. So I can't thank you enough for coming and sharing these with us.
Very cool, guys. I really appreciate the opportunity. When they said a podcast, I was thinking like I had to get in this little pod thing. It's like, no, Sam. Jeff Panis had to explain to me it's not you don't have to get into a pod. It's like futuristic radio. This is just all it is, man. So seriously, I appreciate you guys doing what you're doing. It's an honor for me. I'm going to, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. Disc golf is growing leaps and bounds. We're at a point where we can't make discs fast enough. And there's millions of disc golfers out there that haven't discovered our great sport yet. So our job is to make sure that they do.
Awesome. And yeah, we'll have you back on the show anytime you're willing, Sam. I know there's plenty more stories in there that we would love to hear.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right, man. I'll see you later.
Thank you.
Take it easy.
Wow, that was really a cool interview. It's really awesome to hear from some of the greats. I have a lot of fun hearing from today's pros, but hearing about the people that paved the way is really exciting for me.
Yeah, same here, man. I mean, I love the guys that I get to compete against, but, I'm a fan too. And getting to hear stories that I've never would have gotten to hear and knowing that through this show, sort of like an oral history of a lot of the important moments and figures of the game, we're going to create that, over these next weeks and months and years, hopefully. So, I'm proud of that we can kind of get these stories out there and let some of these legends talk to the players of today.
Typically, this is when our listeners expect us to sign off, but you're doing a little bit of bonus for our listeners. So here's a little bonus running it content, something that's pretty important to you, Nate. Who else are we going to be running it with today?
Yeah, we're going to get to talk to John Baker just quickly. He's the co-director of Collegiate Disc Golf, something that's near and dear to my heart as I used to be a coach for the Oregon State Beavers for a couple of years, and Macbeth and I used to go and run clinics at the college national championships as well back when we were on the road together. So it's been a couple of years since I've seen it, but I want to talk to John a little bit, welcome him to the show, and kind of get an update on the state of collegiate disc golf right now. So hello, John.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Very privileged to be on the podcast. Appreciate y'all taking the time out to talk about college disc golf.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously every sport's been dealing with COVID, but I know you guys have been growing big even pre-pandemic. So like, what's the peak? How many schools have gotten involved at this point? Even pre-COVID.
Oh yes, I mean COVID has definitely had a major impact on us. We're dictated by some different factors than the typical disc golf play. We really have to, we're at the mercy of school policy on a lot of the choices we make and like how our decisions are dictated for college disc golf as a whole. But beyond that, we've seen exponential growth in our season. It's pretty incredible. We're seeing clubs grow to 20, 30 members plus. It's pretty exciting. We're having around 100 teams participate in the season. So we're seeing growth across the board, and we can't be more excited about it.
Wow, that's great. And like I said, I used to coach for the Oregon State Beavers. I made the flight out there with the team a couple times to coach them while they played the national championship. What's it looking like this year for nationals? What's the venue, and how many teams are you expecting?
Well, we're happy to be having an event this year. We actually had to cancel last year, which was a huge bummer, but we're rocking it this year. We're going to be in Marion, North Carolina at a brand new venue called the North Cove Social Club. They're creating 2 courses, and we're going to be privileged to be the first event to be there at the facility. It's beautiful in the foothills of the North Carolina mountains right off the Blue Ridge Parkway. It's a gorgeous area on a it was a former ball golf course. And now it's home to 2 disc golf courses, and the guys have plans for like a venue, and there's going to be a restaurant with a clubhouse there and everything. It's going to be a beautiful pay-to-play facility. And like I said, we're lucky to be the first event taking place there, and we can't be more excited.
Wow, I needed them to hurry up with that back when I was living in Asheville. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it is. We're getting tons of questions about when can the players play and stuff like that, and we're getting it ready as quick as we can. But it's a beautiful piece of property, and we're again just incredibly lucky, and we can't be grateful enough to be breaking it in as the first event.
Nice. Well, I think kind of in closing, what I would like to kind of say to our listeners, I'm a big Beavers fan, across all sports, and I think a lot of our listeners are probably collegiate sports fans as well. I think it might be a pretty good chance that if you're a disc golfer and you have a school you like to back, that school probably has a team that probably has an Instagram account and can probably be contacted. And I bet you can get yourself some discs with those logos in a lot of cases, so you can support your team, support these kids getting out there and competing at the highest level for college disc golf. It's awesome. I have a couple Beaver stamp discs in my bag, and I intend to keep doing that. So I encourage people to kind of reach out and try to be fans, for these guys and root them on to as far as they can go in the disc golf season and on into the national championship.
Yeah, definitely. We just launched a new version of our website, collegediscgolf.com. There you can find team pages, player profiles, all kind of ways to contact the teams. And if not, you can reach out to us and we'll put you in contact with them. We have some solid brands like the Oregon State Beavers Nate mentioned, but we also have teams from the Southeast such as Clemson and other strong brands like that, and you can support the teams and get discs with their logos on them. And if you're a player at a college or university and you're interested in starting your team and competing, collegediscgolf.com has tons of resources there on how to get school funding, get disc with your logos, all kinds of stuff like that to participate in the season.
Awesome. I hope people do that. We need to keep growing it, and I thank you for the work you've done so far. It's a really exciting event to take part in, and I hope to be back there. I'm down to do a clinic whenever you guys need me. So thanks a lot, John, and good luck with the season.
Thank you, Nate. We appreciate it. We can't wait to have you back.
Thanks, John. Now, Nate, last week with Simon, we talked a little bit about growing the sport. We talked a little bit about things that are going on in Europe and some of the courses. And I've been in contact with a gentleman who's working on a bunch of cool projects. But one of the projects he's doing is building a course in Norway. And he has actually gone ahead and documented every step of this. And he set it up on his YouTube page. I'm going to be sharing this on all of our socials. So whether you're following us, Running It at Nate Sexton on Facebook or Running It at Nate Sexton on Instagram, I'm going to go ahead and share this. Nate, he has really, they're out there with huge machinery. They're logging it, but he's doing something really cool that I've never seen before. T-box signs. Those are a thing of the past. Okay. They're actually building little Lego diagrams at the beginning of every single course, at the beginning of every single hole.
Wow.
Where you can see how it plays. They've got little Lego trees there, so you can actually see the hole before you get to it. Really pretty neat. And you guys visit our social media. I'm going to share all the links. If you guys want to see how a disc golf course gets made, you want to hop over there and check this out. I'm going to share his Facebook page and his YouTube page. Check this out. Check out some of this neat stuff that they're doing over there, and growing the sport, putting some courses up in Norway. Who knows, Nate? Maybe you'll be out there flinging some plastic at some point.
Oh, I plan to. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. It would be absolutely awesome. And I actually did something kind of crazy today, Nate. I was gifted a couple discs. They're competitors' discs. You know, if I'm going to buy discs, I'm only buying Innova Champion discs, right? But I was actually given some tour discs from some of your friends. And you know what I did with them, man? I took them to a course and I played with them. These things aren't for sale, okay? These discs are for flying. They're not for selling. So it was. I've had a lot of fun with it. So they're not my destroyers, but you know, it was kind of cool. And one of the guys I was playing with today said, "What? Are you really playing with those?" And I went, "Yeah, bet your ass I'm playing with them." So yeah, that's kind of a crazy thing. So for you guys out there that are collecting all these discs, we need discs in flight, not on your wall.
Hey man, I don't know. I'm not gonna go throw in the collectors under the bus. I need those guys too. But yeah, I throwers too. You do it. You do you. Whatever you want to do with those discs. I'm good with it.
Hey, did you see? Do we know if the Big Kahuna got let into the Nate Sexton Collectors group yet or not?
I put in a good word for him. You know, if he gets annoying, I know who to call to get him out of there. So we're going to give it at least a test, I think.
All right. As long as we're pulling all the right strings. So
yeah.
You had a lot of fun calling live disc golf. What's up next for Nate Sexton and the Pro Tour?
Well, I'll be back down there in Bend to do the Texas State Championships National Tour with Nate Doss and Val in 2 weeks. And then I will also be calling the Jonesboro Open DGPT in April. And then I will be back in action competing. I just bought my flight today to Kansas for the Dynamic Discs Open National Tour in late April. So that's my next competition, but I've got 2 more broadcasts between now and then.
Well, I'll tell you, the comments were great. People really enjoyed, both groups. They really loved you, Nate and Ian, and you and Val. It was just, it was really cool hearing you call some live disc golf. And it was kind of like when we had Nate on the podcast, I said, it's like an old, he just kept calling you Sexton, which was awesome. I felt like he was like your gym teacher, like, Sexton, let's go here.
Well, with 2 Nates on the show, you got to do something.
Right. Well, 2 Nates is better than none, as far as I'm concerned.
It's better than 1, too. The more, the better.
Absolutely, for sure. So, guys, we thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed doing it. Special thanks to both of our guests. And don't forget to check out our sponsors. Guys, we're able to bring this show to you for free because we have amazing support from our sponsors. So FisherDiscGolf.com, Cab Coffee Roasters, Big Cartel. Check them out on social media. Give them a follow. We got a little bit of a contest going on. I'm going to give you guys some more information. I know I teased you with the discs. We're going to do a giveaway, but in order to be included, you got to be following our sponsors, Fisher Disc Golf and Cab Coffee Roasters on social media. Nate, I had an amazing time doing this today, and I'll tell you what, we didn't lay it up today, man.
No, I mean, we don't have that luxury. These guys are throwing 600 feet with a Phoenix in the 80s. Like, what business do I have laying it up? I got to run it.
Guys, we'll see you next week.